Have you been paying attention to the Epstein thing and how conservatives are reacting to it? A lot of misinformation going around. Yes! Oh my God, I've seen that. Jeffrey Epstein's list released. One of his lists. It wasn't, I don't think it was a flight logs. It was a list of names that came from a lawsuit, including victims' names. I understand that's why some of the names were redacted, but they were largely people that we already knew were involved. But this is like confirmation, further confirmation. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Stephen Hawking was not on the flight logs, but somehow related to the lawsuit. That was kind of weird. There's some misinformation floating around about Stephen Hawking. Some mildly amusing misinformation, but misinformation nonetheless. There's also dead confirmation that Donald Trump was definitely on that plane, at least like 5 times. He was always around Epstein. There are pictures of them together. They hung out together. Trump commented on Epstein to the press once or twice. Trump knew what was going on. He absolutely knew what Epstein was up to. And what did Trump supporters say when those logs released that unequivocally proved that Donald Trump was close to Jeffrey Epstein and flew his jet around all over the place? Trump supporters said, "Vindication. Trump is not on the list. See, told you, liberals." They live in another reality where facts are irrelevant. As Trump supporter and sycophant and QAnoner, Brendan Dilley says,
Trump 2020. What's our strategy, guys? First rule of Trump 2020. Controlling the media. How do we do it? It doesn't have to be true. It just has to go viral.
That's the strategy. That's been the strategy all along.
We're destroying them at their own game. Like, Dilly, where did you hear about that? I don't know. I made that up. You're a liar? For now.
Donald Trump was on those flight logs, and Trump supporters are just saying, no, he wasn't. Just make up their own facts. Completely irrelevant. Completely disconnected from reality. It doesn't matter how true or false anything is. They just say it, and that makes it true in their minds. Kellyanne Conway, I believe, was, what was she? Donald Trump's press secretary or something? I don't remember what she was. She was in the Trump campaign somewhere along the line. In 2017, January 22nd, 2017, she said this.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did
Yes,
not
I
answer
did.
the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time.
It's a little thing, but I'm sorry. It's a lectern. It's a lectern, not a podium.
For the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office.
No,
So Donald Trump instructed the press secretary to utter a falsehood, I guess? I don't remember what this was about. Quick interjection, this won't take long. If you like what I do, I'd appreciate it if you watch the video to the end. YouTube bases video reach off of watch time, so watching even an extra minute makes the video go further. Liking and subscribing goes a long way too. Finally, it would be awesome if you guys checked out my Patreon. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video.
No, it doesn't. Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains.
Alternative facts. You catch that? Alternative facts. I guess she's counselor to President Trump. That's just what her title was, apparently. There you have it. Brendan Dilley spells it out for you. Kellyanne Conway spells it out. The strategy? Why? Who's going to call you? If they call you, other people simply won't believe them. See how simple that is? This is the age of misinformation.
The point
Wait a minute.
remains.
Alternative
that
facts? Alternative facts, 4 of the 5 facts he uttered. The
Hey,
one
Chuck,
thing he
why-
got
hey,
right
Chuck.
was Zeke Miller. 4 of the 5 facts he uttered were just not true. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
God, dude, it's just crazy. Anyways, yeah, that was that's the strategy, straight up. That's been the strategy all along. Trump appears on the flight logs. No, he didn't. Just crazy.
Hey, Owen. I'm originally from Virginia, and I just thought you'd find it interesting to know that in some circles of evangelicalism, I grew up Southern Baptist. We kind of take the name Jehovah with a grain of salt, sort of. And
I grew up Jehovah's Witnesses. Most people probably know. Watch my channel. I'm also writing a book right now about Jehovah's Witnesses and how the name Jehovah is completely wrong. It is not Jehovah. It was never pronounced Jehovah. Jays didn't even exist until the 1500s or something like that. It's absolutely absurd. But okay, let's keep listening here.
Of salt, sort of, and add it to just this massive list of names for God. I remember being young, in like late elementary school maybe, and being part of a little church play where we did a spelling bee with all the different names for God. Adonai, Elohim.
That's fascinating. Okay, Adonai means Lord. It's the Hebrew word for Lord. Elohim, El literally means God, and Elohim is the plural version of God, so gods, multiple. That's what Elohim means. Quick note before we continue, I'm writing a book about my experiences inside the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. I cover the culture and doctrine. It's understandable even if you know literally nothing about the religion, so I'd appreciate if you gave it a read. To find out more, go to owenmorgan.com/book. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video.
Elohim, Jehovah.
Again, Jehovah is fake. Jays didn't exist until the 1500s.
Everlasting Father.
Haven't heard that one, okay.
What was the Emmanuel?
That one was used to refer to the prophesied Messiah, the foretold Messiah that would eventually come. They said his name will be Emmanuel, which means God is with us, or something to that effect. That's only a name for God if you believe that Jesus is God, i.e. if you believe in the Trinity.
Both spellings of it with an E and an I, and just like a gazillion other names. So Baptists tend to do that a lot. Like Baptists are also interesting, Southern Baptists at least, because we don't do snake handling or poison drinking or any of that. But
super fascinating. I'm going to touch on this in a minute. I'm going to let her finish first, though. The snake handling thing, we'll talk about that.
Any of that, but we also, or speaking in tongues for that matter, but we also don't entirely discount those verses. We, leave them there just for a little flavor. We're like, oh, maybe that's real, but we're not going to address it. So I just thought you might find that interesting. Hope you have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, appreciate that. I've never heard of a denomination doing like a spelling bee like that. Doesn't surprise me, though. People love to do little fun things for kids like that, right? Get them roped in as early as humanly possible. As far as the verses go there that she was talking about, that they leave the verses in. Those verses about snake handling, poison drinking, and all that stuff, they're fake. They were added later. They don't belong in the Bible. In fact, a lot of Bibles don't even include them anymore. The last 8 or so verses of the book of Mark. I think it's Mark 16 verses 9 to 20 something. Yeah, okay, so I guess in the NRSV-A, it's labeled as the longer ending of Mark. This was not found in the earliest manuscripts, but it's the basis for all kinds of stuff. They will pick up snakes in their hands, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will not hurt them. They will lay their hands on the sick. They will recover. So this is the basis for faith healing, snake handling, drinking poison. It's the basis for soul winning or door knocking. Speaking in tongues, it was the basis for that also. And it's all fake. They're all fake verses. I guess the caller was saying that they leave these verses in, but they don't believe them. This is commonly a Pentecostal practice, the snake handling stuff. West Virginia, interestingly enough, is the only state where it's legal to do snake handling still. That's fascinating, right? Anyway, thank you for the call. That was pretty cool.
Hi, it's me, Liv from Minnesota. I just hit my phone with my glasses.
Oh, that sounds miserable. I'm sorry.
Whatever. I was watching a YouTube video, and he mentioned at one point in the Bible that Peter said that while Paul never met Jesus, he was divinely inspired. Is that true? Wouldn't that mean that Paul has I don't know. I don't know what to think. Thanks. Have a good day.
I don't actually remember saying that, but the common belief in Christianity is that Paul was divinely inspired. So Jesus comes bebopping along and has like his his apostles that he teaches, right? Peter and Matthew and Thomas and so on and so forth. Bartholomew, is that one of them? The forgotten apostle. Anyways, he has all these people that follow him around and work with him and all that junk. Paul was not one of them. Paul was not involved at all. Jesus dies. About 3 years later, Paul comes on the scene and decides to convert from Judaism to Christianity, I believe. He was seeding Christian churches in the area and trying to create a cohesive structure to them, trying to get them all to fall under the same umbrella, because the beliefs in Christianity changed from church to church, from group to group, and there was no cohesion. So he was building out that cohesion, even though churches already existed. I believe the Church of Corinth and the Church of Thessalonica already existed, I believe, before he even came along. And he wrote letters to the Corinthians and the Thessalonians at various points in time. So anyways, a lot of Christians believe that he was inspired, divinely inspired by God to write this stuff down. That this is, messages directly from God himself. When in reality, a lot of the stuff that was attributed to Paul wasn't even written by Paul. It's claimed that 13 of the Bible books, basically, the letters, were written by Paul, when only about 7 of them were. The book of Hebrews is attributed to Paul. Almost certainly wasn't Paul. The book of Ephesians, the book of 1st and 2nd Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, so on and so forth. Those were written by Paul. Those were attributed to Paul. So anyway, yeah, the point is that he was not divinely inspired. We don't even know which things he wrote. Did he write them himself? Did he have them dictated? Did somebody else write them and pretend to be Paul? We have no idea. So, just ridiculous. I don't buy a single thing Paul said. He never met Jesus. He didn't know him. He knew nothing about him. Paul, years later, met with some of Jesus' apostles, original apostles, talked to them. They told Paul some stories about Jesus, and Paul worked in, I think, a total of 3 stories about Jesus that he heard from them in various spots in the Bible. And that was it. That was the extent of Paul's knowledge. Anyway, yeah, I don't accept anything that Paul says. If I want to look to the quintessential example of Christianity, I look to Christ for that. I look to Jesus to find out what Jesus would expect. And what does he expect? As the sheep and the goats parable says, love your fellow man, take care of him, give him water when he's thirsty, food when he's hungry, a place to sleep when he's homeless. Give him the shirt off your back if he needs it. That is what gets you into the kingdom of God. Not paying your way in or even praying your way in. None of that nonsense gets you in. The way that, like, Kenneth Copeland, for example, seems to think. Anyway, it's just absurd. Thanks for the voicemail. Have you heard from that guy who left you those voicemails? No, I heard from Homeland Security, who discouraged me from talking about it any further. The guy will not be contacting me anymore. So, anyway, sorry for the repeat. Thought the first one didn't take. Oh, no problem. You're good. El is the name of a Canaanite god. Elohim is the name of his council, and Yahweh and Ashereth, his wife, were part of it. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to it. But El literally means God, and Elohim is plural for gods. That's what it means, gods. In the Canaanite belief system, El was the supreme creator, and I think there were 12 Elohim under him or something. But within the Hebrew language or Aramaic language, within the Jewish language sets, Elohim meant gods plural and El meant God. Anyway, yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah, thank you for the added context there. Homeland Security? What did I miss? I have some videos about it. There's a guy who's leaving threatening and creepy voicemails about my kid and stuff. So, anyway, yeah. I guess I'll just leave it at that. If you guys want to find it, it's on this channel, on Fireside. So, just check out weird voicemails, threatening voicemails, something like that. I've released a couple videos about it.
Hey, Lou, it's Owen. You remember me.
Hey, Owen. Nice to hear from you.
You remember me. I'm ex-military. I'm going to be honest with you and try to be quick about the...
Yeah. So before we go into this, I just want to say I put my position on record recently about guns and how I don't think that pistols should exist at all. Why do we have pistols? If you want something for home defense, it should probably be a shotgun because it's got a wide spread and you can use birdshot. You're supposed to use a shotgun for home defense. Birdshot, then buckshot. Less than lethal round, lethal round next. That's the order you're supposed to do it. Anyway, that's what I said. We shouldn't have automatic rifles. We shouldn't have pistols. I could justify having rifles for hunting purposes, but I think that should be heavily regulated. Like, you should have to renew your license every year and everything else, just like a fishing license or a hunting license. And shotguns should be allowed, I suppose, for home defense, if you want. So anyways, Lou is going to give his insights on this.
Quick about the whole weapons, shotgun, home self-defense. Pistols, some certain pistols are better for home defense, but full shotguns are cumbersome and hard to use. Beanbag shots in shotguns would be less than lethal.
Birdshot is also less lethal, although it can definitely kill you. I understand that birdshot is not quite as bad, though, as buckshot.
Than lethal. In all honesty, 22 caliber pistols with rubber bullets would be perfect home defense, in my opinion, along with tasers. Love you, bud.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I suppose so. 22 caliber is a very small, weak gun. I can see that. With rubber bullets, yeah, sure. They'll hurt like hell. They'll still leave massive bruises. And as Nemo Nova points out, they can all blind someone or go straight through their eye and kill them. You know, none of them are non-lethal. There's no non-lethal option in this equation, but some are basically guaranteed to kill you, you know, with hollow point bullets and stuff, you know, AR-15s and all that other stuff. There's no reason for all of that. No reason at all. You know, if you really want to have a gun for home defense or whatever, you know, defense of your home or property, whatever, just look at Kyle Rittenhouse as an example, okay? Kyle Rittenhouse, in my opinion, was guilty and should have gone to jail. But he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers. And you know what? Better 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man go to prison. I don't remember who said that, but I suppose I can accept that based on that philosophy. He got out of it, but do you really want to go through that process? Did you see the kid up there crying his eyes out at the possibility that he might go to jail for the rest of his life for murder? The decisions that you make in a split second are going to be litigated into the ground for the next 2 years, maybe, while you go through trials. You're going to have to sit in jail for some time, almost certainly, and you are going to be on a razor's edge as to whether or not a jury can decide, or whether or not a jury will decide that those split-second decisions were the right decisions. How often are split-second decisions the right ones? It is stupid to have a gun for home defense. It is the stupidest decision I think anybody could possibly make. It's up there. You do not want your split-second decisions litigated into the ground. Anyways, yeah, maybe you'll get out of it. Do you really want to go through all that? I certainly don't. 22 is some of the more dangerous ammo. 22 caliber? Maybe I'm confusing it. Maybe I'm mixing it up. I was under the impression 22 was less lethal than others. Am I mixing this up? Anyway, that's my position. Tell me what you think about it. I think guns are fun. I think they're cool. I like to shoot guns. They should be at a shooting range, and you should be able to rent them. You should not be allowed to own an M16 that's been modified to not be fully automatic or semi-automatic. The AR-15 is effectively the gun used by military. The gun used by the U.S. military for all intents and purposes. You shouldn't be able to own an Uzi or a Tommy gun or whatever. You want to shoot it at a shooting range, go nuts. But having all these things floating around is what's causing problems in society, like massive, shootings and stuff. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments.